From happy beginnings and life choices that we make along the way.
Colonial protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
Family protection and long-term financial plans.
Business insurance and generous employee benefits.
For happy beginnings to happy ever after, visit CGIGroup.com.
Colonial, where people come first.
You can count on us.
Assorted varieties of fresh attitude salads, only $3.50 for a 5-ounce package. Land O'Lakes cheddar cheese, just $3.99 per pound. Select varieties of Fab 2X laundry detergent, only $4.99 for a 50-ounce bottle. Save $2.20 on Tropicana orange juice, just $4.49 for a 59-ounce bottle. Kellogg's Frosted Flake cereal, only $5.49 for a 15-ounce box. All stores open Monday through Saturday until 10 p.m., Sunday 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. for your shopping convenience.
You can count on us.
Live from Bermuda Broadcasting, this is ZBM TV9 News.
Good evening, everyone. It's Friday, January 19th. I'm Jasmine Patterson, and thanks for joining us tonight. The Premier and Minister of Finance, David Byrd, has expressed his frustration at the controversy over plans to pay supplementary fees to medical imaging providers. The government says it will increase payments from $300 to $700. This follows accusations from former Premier Dr. Hewitt Brown that his medical imaging operations were purposely shut down. Premier Byrd says the last government ignored technical recommendations for the pricing of diagnostic imaging and left the current government with no other options than to raise the fees.
I think it was made very clear by the Minister of Health that there were technical recommendations that were made to the former government, and the former government rejected those technical recommendations. We felt that it was fair and just in order for the providers of those services, for the government to provide a top-up. Then the choices that we had were we could have paid the money out of the consolidated fund, or we could have increased everyone's health insurance premiums in the middle of the year. Unfortunately, when you're in government, you are often faced with two poor choices. But what we thought it was best and just was to make sure that not only the hospital but the private providers can be compensated for the services that they provided, and we made sure that we gave effect to the technical officer's recommendations, which were ignored by the former government.
43 volunteers signed up for the Royal Bermuda Regiment's 2-week training course that began this week at Warwick Camp. That's down from 60 recruits from last year. But a second recruitment round in the summer may help bolster the ranks. So what can new recruits expect from their training? I went up to Warwick to find out. Today is the first day the new recruits were able to unload the SA-80 rifles at the firing range after days of preparation in the classroom. At Warwick Camp, the recruits have undergone rigorous training, up at 5 a.m. for beach workouts to standing on parade. We spoke to one soldier during target practice.
It was a mixed bag. In one aspect, it was very exhilarating and exciting to be able to put my training to use in a very practical means. And in a secondary aspect, it gives a lot of visual context to a lot of the films and entertainment we absorb and consume, that these things are no joke and not to be taken lightly.
We watched as soldiers took advice from their instructors on how to improve their shooting technique and to perfect their aim. Some more successful than others. But for Private Dill, becoming a soldier goes beyond the rifle range.
There's only 60,000 Bermudians in the world. And I wanted to be one of those Bermudians that if our way of life was disturbed, I could do something to help to preserve the way of life of those around me as well as for myself.
So the financial perks, do they help as well?
To be honest, I would have volunteered and done this for free. However, the fact that they pay me is just a privilege I am happy to accept.
This new group of men and women are said to be one of the strongest in the last few years.
What I have managed to gather from them is their section commanders are extraordinarily proud of them. They have acknowledged that because of the volunteer mindset of persons coming into camp, sort of saying, this is something I want to try, I want to be a part of, I want to challenge myself. The learning curve has been faster than they've ever experienced. With the training staff that we have, they've taught new recruits for the last 3 years. And in their opinion, no word of lie, this is the best year they've come across.
But looking ahead into the final week, the action may be kicked up a notch.
They're going through their first application of live firing. They have not at this point worked with any blank ammunition as of yet, but they're going to go into that. And with blank ammunition, they can start practicing things like formations on the ground, in the trees and such, section attacks, duties of a sentry, so more outside work.
Major Duncan Simon says the transition into an all-volunteer battalion away from conscription has been effective.
We're quite pleased that we've had 43 soldiers step forward this year to volunteer. From Regiment's perspective, retention has been very good, so we require fewer numbers than we have in the past.
Although less volunteers joined during this recruit cycle, down from 60 recruits last year, Major Simons believes a second camp will change that overall number.
What we've noticed since we've gone all volunteer is that one intake a year doesn't capture everyone who's interested. So this year in July we're going to run a second camp, and we've had strong interest for that. And if we equal the numbers we have during this January camp, our total numbers for the year will be higher than last year.
On Sunday, the soldiers will be allowed to go home on leave for some much-needed rest. Stay with us. More news after the break.
You can count on us.
Bermuda's best solid cod, only $6.49 for a 400-gram package. Extra large sweet eating cantaloupes, just $3.99 each. Save 75 cents on ShopRite macaroni, just $1.50 for a 16-ounce box. Fabuloso multi-use cleaner, only $2.99 for a 33.3-ounce bottle. Select varieties of Arm & Hammer laundry detergent, only $10.59 for a 75-ounce bottle. Visit our website, www.marketplace.bm, for more weekly specials.
You can count on us.
The whole concept came from the collaboration with BF&M and the America's Cup. The Endeavour program is the legacy of the 35th America's Cup that was here in Bermuda in June. And we've continued the charity now operating in Bermuda. And going forward, we thought, what a great opportunity for children on the autism spectrum. And hence we actually developed the No Limits program. They really do benefit from this kind of outdoor experience, this environment. You know, just yesterday going off the east end of Bermuda, I mean, they wouldn't have done that. Not many children in Bermuda have done that. And just them learning to take control of a large bit of transportation that they're doing at that age, and they may never get that opportunity.
That's where you see the biggest progress is whether they were looking at their hand steering, you know, now they're looking forward and actually looking where they're going, because they've realized, oh, I know where my hand is. I can do this without looking at my hand.
We are so grateful for the Endeavour program and what it has done for the students on the autism spectrum.
It's been announced that a pair of rescue horses, Charlie and Arthur, had to be euthanized this month. The two were suffering acute dental infections after years of neglect. You'll recall in November last year, we reported the SPCA found the elderly horses emaciated and confined to a small space. They were surrendered to the charity by their owner. The aim was to give them the best possible retirement with unlimited food, walks, and medical attention, supported by a foster family. However, Charlie's health rapidly deteriorated in January. Difficulties eating meant he lost weight and finally stopped taking in any food at all. A vet decided the most humane course of action would be to put him to sleep. Since the other horse, Arthur, was deeply attached to Charlie, it was decided he too should be put down. Their carers felt it would be cruel to separate them. A post-mortem examination revealed that in fact Arthur's teeth had deteriorated and he was also suffering. They were buried on their property where they spent their last months. The horse's former owner, Calix Darrell, has signed an agreement with the SPCA saying he will never own animals again. Well, Bermudians will soon have a new nature reserve to enjoy. The Buy Back Bermuda campaign says it will restore Eves Pond on North Road, with a nature trail added to the site. The pond was filled in more than 70 years ago and will now be dug out and replanted with native species. Hal Davis went to take a look.
It might not look that impressive, just a patch of overgrown scrubland near busy North Road. But this will soon be Bermuda's latest nature reserve. I went out to see the site with Jennifer Gray of Buy Back Bermuda, the organisation set up by the National Trust and the Bermuda Audubon Society, which bought the land.
This is a piece of property that we purchased in 2012, and we've just put in a planning application to start our conservation management plan so that hopefully we can make it exciting and accessible to the public. So we're about to walk into 3.5 acres of jungle.
The site was originally a pond, Eves Pond. But that all changed more than 70 years ago.
Back in 1941, they took the spoils from dredging Flats Inlet and filled up the pond. So there you go. Sand.
Oh wow.
From Flats Inlet.
Flats Inlet.
This is actually the site of the old pond that was filled with the spoils from Flats Inlet. And because it's a marine-based sediment or sand, you're not getting a lot of growth and trees. You don't see a lot of birds.
The sand will all be removed and the pond recreated, though it will no longer be linked to the underground cave system underneath as it was originally.
Until 1941, this was a saltwater pond connected to the ocean. We know it was connected through the cave system into Harrington Sound, and very likely connected under the island out to North Shore as well. So this was filled with sand in 1941, and we are now looking to not re-establish the saltwater pond, but a much shallower pond that has no risk of interfering with the cave system below.
At the moment, the site is, despite appearances, largely sterile with little wildlife. But the hope is that will rapidly change when the pond is back in place and native species of plants and trees are planted. This is, as we've said, an enormous amount of work. How long will it take to get this into sort of a place where people can take their kids to go walking around?
You never really know until you start, but we are hoping that as soon as we get permission from the planning department, we hope to complete this within a year.
The site itself has the additional benefit of being close to the railway trail and Shelley Bay Park, providing a vital corridor for wildlife. And the hope is that Bermudians themselves will also benefit, experiencing at first hand just a bit more of the island's natural landscape. Hal Davis, Bermuda Broadcasting.
Ever wondered what smart health insurance feels like?
Colonial's 24/7 worldwide health insurance does most of the thinking for you.
1,500 CGI health claims are settled daily.
60% of claims settled automatically.
You can access your health plan almost anywhere, anytime.
And have smart wellness with online data tracking.
And more provider choices for you and the people who matter most.
Premier Health is smart health insurance, and it feels good.
Colonial, where people come first.
On April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated outside his room at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. What happened inside that room the night before is the subject of Katori Hall's The Mountaintop, winner of the prestigious Olivier Award for Best New Play. I'm Gilbert Glenn Brown. In 2018, as the world marks the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's death, The Mountaintop imagines his final night on Earth as he reveals his hopes, regrets, and dreams to an alluring, enigmatic maid. LA Theatre Works presents a work hailed as breathtaking, hilarious, and heart-stopping, The Mountaintop by Katori Hall. We look forward to seeing you March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the Bermuda Festival of the Performing Arts.
Thanks for staying with us. His business may have literally gone up in smoke, but a Sands Parish mechanic refuses to call his situation a loss. In fact, as Gary Moreno found out, Detroit Bean II is calling the fire a blessing in the making.
It was just over a week ago when self-employed Mr. Bean witnessed several years of hard work destroyed in a matter of minutes. When we visited with him, he was in the process of, well, picking up the pieces and already looking ahead to bigger and better things.
Initially, I was pretty perturbed, but I just used it as, you know, pretty much a stepping stone. Trying to wrap my head around rebuilding everything completely, you know. So that's where I am right now. It's not the end of the world, but it is the beginning of something that could be a lot better.
Now, Mr. Bean estimates his monetary losses could be in the region of $30,000, but tells us that's not the worst of it.
Money comes and goes, right? So really it's the time and the effort that I put in, and this place was like a I'd say like a safe haven for most people that can come and, you know, hang out, see things get fixed. You know, the money, like I said, it comes and goes. This was a long time in the making, and I hope it doesn't take this long to build it back up.
And he asserts, with good reason.
I want to house after school programs up here for kids, catering to the SANS people, and between the facilities so they can learn, and actually the yard, which I'm going to try and make into a little track. That's going to be a lot of development, you know, so I hope that it's not so long, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of work.
Mr. Bean, a graduate of the Motor Mechanics Institute in the U.S., also ran the popular remote control racing business, Hobby Zone, with his mate Linwood brother Richie Richardson, and was recently featured in an international RC racing magazine. That, he laments, is also a huge loss, but not for the reasons you might think.
Had a good bit of kids that came down and would like to learn about stuff, so, you know, I'll just teach them, let them drive, you know, and actually trying to harness on it has not been easy because, you know, not everybody's got the money or time and all that type of stuff. So me actually, I would say, donating my equipment and my space for someone to come and have fun, you know, was the biggest impact for me, for the kids.
Mr. Bean refuses to let the situation get the better of him, he tells us. Since he feels as difficult as this has been for him, he is still in a better position than many others. And rather than, as he put it, be gribble about all this, he will instead focus on the opportunity it offers. But where exactly does his optimism and belief in what could be come from?
I have God on my side, and I just have to remember that is an actual bigger purpose than just where I am. Like going forward is what you really have is future. So that's what I'm trying to focus on rather than what's happened.
Gary Moreno, reporting for the Bermuda Broadcasting News.
A blustery day today with drizzle and lots of gray skies, but what will tomorrow look like? Let's head over to the AccuWeather headquarters to find out.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
We're seeing a nicer day today here in Bermuda. We needed the rain, but now it is pushing off to the north and to the east of us, and we are starting to dry out. Thank you for joining us. I'm AccuWeather's Erin Calandra, and this forecast is brought to you by the BF&M Insurance Group. So we're in a pretty quiet pattern now for at least the next day or so. It's cooler for a couple different reasons. We had that cold front move through, and the system that brought it is helping to pull down some cool air from the north. Meanwhile, we have a high pressure system in place, and that's helping to pull in more winds coming from the west. So when you combine the two, well, it's a bit breezy out there. We do have a small craft advisory in place for tonight. Should be expiring later on this evening. So the temperatures right now, 64 degrees across the island, humidity at 65%. Northwest winds turning to the west-northwest, 10 to 18 knots. Water temperature still warm at 70 degrees, and the waves not as strong as yesterday. Inside the reef, 1 to 3 feet, and outside still pretty impressive, 8 to 12, but not quite as large as we saw last night. So for tonight, what you can expect is a cloudy night. It's going to be pretty unproductive. We're not going to have any more rain or anything like that. Temperatures at 63 degrees. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine, so it's going to be a kind of a gloomy-ish day, but no rain is expected. Temperatures at 68 degrees for the high. The high tide, the first one at 10:16 p.m. on Friday, the second one at 10:31 in the morning on Saturday. Now, as we look at this forecast for a couple other cities, Toronto, a cloudy day, 40 degrees, beautiful sunshine in New York, 48 degrees. That's above average temperatures there, so they're seeing a beautiful day. Boston, 48, Atlanta, 56, and some showers through Miami and also through London. In the Caribbean, it is hot and humid as it should be. Temperatures from Jamaica to Trinidad in the 80s with some spotty showers across the region as well. Of course, some sunshine mixing in there with that. Saturday and Sunday, temperatures at 68 degrees. We're going to have plenty of clouds. And then on Monday, we could have just a little bit of showers. A very weak front moving through Sunday night into Monday, and then improvement throughout the day. 69 degrees. Tuesday and Wednesday, unfortunately, we are looking at some overcast conditions. Certainly more clouds out there than sunshine, but temperatures slowly on the rise, reaching 71 degrees by Wednesday. Back to you.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
Price Rate is your one-stop shop with something for everyone. Household goods for kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Aisles of bulk groceries at value prices. A complete selection of fresh meat and produce. And an extensive range of frozen items to cover every meal. Wines from around the world and beer and liquor at discount prices. Visit Price Right at our 2 locations in Pembroke and Warren. There's always something new and always something for everyone.
The whole concept came from the collaboration with BF&M and the America's Cup. The Endeavour program is the legacy of the 35th America's Cup that was here in Bermuda in June. And we've continued the charity now operating in Bermuda. And going forward, we thought, what a great opportunity for children on the autism spectrum. And hence we actually developed the No Limits program. They really do benefit from this kind of outdoor experience, this environment. You know, just yesterday going off the east end of Bermuda, I mean, they wouldn't have done that. Not many children in Bermuda have done that. And just them learning to take control of a large bit of transportation that they're doing at that age, and they may never get that opportunity.
That's where you see the biggest progress is whether they were looking at their hand steering, you know, now they're looking forward and actually looking where they're going because they've realized, oh, I know where my hand is. I can do this without looking at my hand.
We are so grateful for the Endeavour program and what it has done for the students on the autism spectrum.
Turning to sports now, some of the world's top squash players are expected on island next month. Earl Basin has that story and more in tonight's sports report.
International squash makes a return to Bermuda next month with the Men's and Women's Bermuda Open 2018, an official stop on the PSA World Pro Tour. The director of the Bermuda Squash Rackets Association Club, Patrick Foster, explains how the $10,000 prize money event landed on our shores.
So the initial idea was simple, was this world tour that operates globally. The tournaments go in prize money from $1,000 up to a couple of $100,000 at the World Championship level. And as an association, we wanted to put one together to support our local players by providing a tournament where they can earn money, they can earn points, and they can do so on their home courts without traveling to the far corners of the planet. So that was the idea. We went out to our squash community for financial support, and it sort of grew from there. We ended up with not just a men's event, we ended up with a ladies' event. We have a $5,000 prize purse for both of those events.
The Bermuda Olympic Association announced that 5 elite Bermudian athletes have received Olympic scholarships through the International Olympic Committee's Olympic Solidarity Program in support of their bid to compete in the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. Flora Duffy, Cecilia Woolman, Tyrone Smith, Trey Houston, and Janai Parentchief each all received funding to support them as they train for the Games at approved training facilities, as well as up to an additional $5,000 in funding to cover their transportation costs for participation in Olympic qualification competitions. Duffy explained how the funding helps athletes such as herself.
For me, it's like I'm sort of looking at the cost of going to Commonwealth Games now, and you know, it's incredible how expensive it gets. And then, thankful with this scholarship, you know, I'm allowed to spend it on bringing a coach there with me and spend it on any accommodation or flights. So that really helps too, because that means that Dan, my husband, he's also, you know, he's very involved with my training and racing, that he gets to come there. And yeah, this funding allows us to do that, and it's such a huge help for me, because otherwise I go to a lot of these other big races on my own, which of course can be quite daunting, and then if something goes wrong, you just don't have that somebody there to help you and support you and help you talk through the race and everything that's going on around the race. So yeah, it's really very grateful for the scholarship.
3 more races were held on day 3 of the 2018 Finn Australian Championships, with Raquel Evans and 27 other sailors taking to the waters off the Royal Queensland Yacht Club. Evans started the day in 8th place but came off the water in 10th with 54 points, this after he was ruled over the line for the start of the 3rd race. Evans was having a fantastic day, having finished 5th in the first race of the day and 3rd in the second. Spectators were entertained with two thrilling encounters as the Bermuda School Sports Federation's Senior School All-Star Volleyball matches took place inside the Mount St. Agnes Gymnasium last evening. The East squad won the Senior School boys match in 3 games. They comfortably won the first game 25-13 with some hard-hitting offense which left the West team looking defeated. The West rallied back in the second game and took a 24-18 lead before allowing the East to come within 2 in a late rally before winning the game 25-22. The third game proved to be a seesaw battle before the East came out on top 15-13. Caleb Hamilton from Warwick Academy was the West MVP, while Salters Grammar School's Tristan Mullen was the MVP for the East. The West enacted revenge in the girls match with another 3-game nail-biter. The East won a close first game 25-22 before the West would storm back and win the second game by the same score. The third game proved to be even more exciting and was tied at 14-14 before Cameron Martins from Mount St. Agnes finished the match on back-to-back serves that could not be returned. The East MVP was Cy McPeak from Salters Grammar School, while Candice Painter from the Barclay Institute was the West MVP. Vanessa James and her partner Morgan Cypress did not have the performance they were looking for in the pairs free skating program during the European Figure Skating Championships in Moscow. The pair would finish 4th with a score of 134.65. Earlier this month, we reported that Bermuda will be represented in the inaugural Union America's D National Swimming Cup. Today, we report the 9 swimmers who will represent Bermuda in Florida, which include Ashley Irby, Gabriella Pittman, Skylar Powell, Logan Watson-Brown, Taylor White, Brian Desmond, Jack Harvey, Caleb Ingham, and Sam Williamson. Jaden Ming represented Freiburg Academy High School in an 8 high school indoor track meet hosted at the Gardner track. Middle distance runner Ming competed in 2 events. He would finish 7th in the men's open 800-meter race, clocking a personal indoor best time of 2:21:32. Ming would then finish 2nd competing in the men's mile, stopping the clock on a time of 5:07:17, which was another personal best for indoors. The Bermuda Bicycle Association hosted their annual award ceremony for the 2017 Road Race Point Series, as well as prizes for time trial and road race championships. The race organizer of the year was Anton Gilbert, while the race official of the year was Zoe Roberts. April Joyce and Rochelle Smith were named the club persons of the year, while the most improved junior award went to Connor White, and the most improved adult rider was Adam Kirk. The junior rider of the year was Caden Hopkins, with the female rider of the year award going to Alyssa Rouse. The male rider of the year award went to Matthew Oliveira. I'm Earl Baisden with Bermuda Broadcasting Sports.
And finally, if, like the ZBM office, your workplace is suffering from an outbreak of the flu, then you might be interested in some new technology to prevent the spread of germs and infections. A company in Texas is taking a radical approach to sanitizing homes and offices, something you may want to suggest to your boss perhaps the next time a colleague calls in sick.
Doctors' offices across North Texas are packed with sick patients fighting the flu. This outbreak is keeping companies like eMist Innovations the busiest they've been in years.
We're seeing more so than what we were seeing in the Ebola crisis and when that went down.
They say they're mostly getting calls to spray public places like businesses and schools with this eMist solution.
We've gotten phone calls from clients that we've had for a long time that have, maybe not used this as much as they want some retraining. They want us to come back out. They want us to service the systems to make sure they're up and running just because of this flu epidemic that's going on.
It takes only about 5 minutes to disinfect an entire house. For MedStar out of Fort Worth, it takes a quick 5-second spray to keep their employees flu-free.
Very, very important. The crews come in contact with patrons in the DFW area all over with all types of conditions and everything, and it's very, very vital to keep the trucks sanitized and cleaned, as well as themselves.
The technology behind the eMist is supposed to be much stronger than any disinfectant wipe.
Instead of wasting a bunch of chemicals where you spray and then you wipe, you're really not effectively disinfecting anything because you're just spreading the germs. What we can do is we just lay that coat down, and that will actually allow for that dwell time to kill anything that's on there.
And that's our broadcast for this evening. I'm Jasmine Patterson. Thanks for watching. Good night.